Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning. Welcome to the program. I am just waking up myself. So if you're just waking up, you're in good company. And I woke up a while ago, but I just laid there. It was one of those mornings. It's like, do I really need to get up? Oh, yeah, I'm doing radio. And my body aches and I'm tired and I'm sunburned. We did the little carnival yesterday where I was recruited by Raini, drafted by Raini to do um, street barking or hawking, we used to call it. Go out there and try to draw a crowd into the dunk tank and that the scouts had for raising money for the Boy Scouts, for our local scouts. So I was out doing that yesterday, and it's amazing to me how standing for a long time outside, uh, I did this for about 4 hours yesterday, and standing and the bright sunshine, it was gorgeous outside. A little windy, that kept it from being any hotter than it could have been, and a little sunburned, a little sore muscles, a little back strain from just standing. So I think it's just the way my body has redistributed itself. I'm sure there are some of us out there that are like that. So that's how I am today. And coming to the show just a little more, I should just lay in bed type of morning. And because I was comfortable. And but no, I'm up. I've got my coffee. It's brewing here right now. It's my French press. It's not quite done yet. Another couple of minutes, and it'll be ready to plunger down and drink. So, how is your morning? How has your weekend been? How are things going on your end? Thank you, by the way, on a Sunday morning. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but on a Sunday morning that you would sit here and listen to me drone on and possibly, excuse me, I'm yawning. It's not you. It's not you. Really, it's me. It's me. And I'm seeing some people just having you come in and listen. That's kind of nice. And we'll have some, I'm sure, people calling in and we'll have some great conversation going. So good morning to everybody. Susie Q, I saw you bright and early this morning, and Morgan Snow, and who else we got? Kevin Miller. Greetings and felicitous salutations. When I was a kid, I picked up from Star Trek. Spock said he was reading the greetings from the Squire of Gothos. Greetings and felicitations. And so I picked that up in like the 6th grade. Nobody knew what the hell I was saying. Greetings and felicitations, all of you. So Randall Flagg, good to see you. Glad you're here today. And JP, morning, he says. See, he's tired enough this morning, or not speaking English well enough yet, that he can only do morning. He can't even put in the apostrophes before the M and after the N for good morning, which is what I do. Good morning, Steph. She can sit and listen because it's raining out there in Laconia Bike Week. In Laconia Bike Week until later this afternoon. Where is Laconia Bike Week? And JP's driving and texting. Just want you all to know that. Has it been 4 minutes? Yes, yeah. Oh, it's well over 4 minutes. So I can plunger my French press coffee, which I was out of whole bean this morning, except for about 2/3 of what I would need to make my coffee. As French press, you grind your bean and you leave it a rough grind. You don't want a really fine grind. You want to pick up the flavor. And so I topped it off with a scoop of ground coffee. So here we go. It's not a grand experiment, but a somewhat of an experiment to get. The only problem is my big my big carafe for French press has broke, and so I've just got these little ones. See, it's little. You get about a cup and a half of coffee out of these, and so I've got a cup of a big cup here this morning. It doesn't take up the whole cup and a half, but at least it's a big cup. There we go, big cup of coffee, and it's a mermaid cup. Look at this. I'm drinking out of a mermaid cup this morning. Oh, you can't even tell. It's just white there. But see, it's got a little white tail, a little mermaid tail, and it's got some mermaid art on it. And what does it say? It says, "We were mermaid for each other." Oh, we were mermaid for each other. Oh, isn't that cute? So there you go. Coffee time. I'm gonna need both. I'm not gonna use this coffee cup ever again. It doesn't fit my fingers. So, yes, I am, Steph. First thing in the morning. Here we go. Coffee. Fresh French press coffee. So yesterday, we're doing this little carnival. And it's little because we're a small town, but very well populated with people yesterday. It was crowded. And they've got all the carnival rides that all come in. A portable midway comes in. And so it's pretty big, and all the kids in town love going to that. And so we've got the dunk booth set up. And this, of course, is not just a carnival. This is Somerset, Wisconsin's Pea Soup Days. Now, I mentioned this the other day, but Pea Soup Days here is a heritage traditional thing. Like some towns have lumberjack days. Now, that would be Stillwater over in Minnesota. Some people have UFO days. There's actually UFO days here about an hour and 15 minutes or so from here. I can't even remember the name of the little town off the top of my head. It's where there was in the 60s all kinds of UFO activity there and stories coming out of there. And so they have UFO days, and which I've never been to before. But, our little town has Pea Soup Days. It comes from apparently the French Canadian settlers around here. And they brought with them pea soup. They made pea soup. And I don't remember the significance of why pea soup became such a big thing here. But it must have been a survival thing that happened or something, or they were just known for it around here. So we have Pea Soup Days. And then the carnival once a year. Then the carnival comes in. And yeah, that's some fresh tail. All right, Steph. I don't know if that was the same one. Yeah, it is. So, you're already, Morgan Snow's already done feeding pets, walking dogs. Steph says, in New Hampshire, near Lake Winnipesaukee. I'm assuming an Indian name. Yeah, split peas are dried. So survival food. There you go. And so the Scouts every year they do this. They have a session a couple of days ahead of time where we all cut the vegetables and everybody gets together and you cut. And I don't know how much pea soup they made, but they had big barrels, like steel barrels that were converted on the bottom to propane tanks to heat them up. So barrels of pea soup, and it's really, really good the way they make it. It's not, like cheap manufactured. It's really good stuff. And yeah, they had ham in it as well, Susie. They all kinds of. We had to cut the ham too ahead of time. You cut it all up. off the bone, and then they throw the bone in even while they're cooking it. And just fantastic stuff. So, pea soup days, and they have outside the kitchen there at the fairgrounds, they have their dunk tank is set up. And so we did this Friday night and Saturday. I don't have to do it today, which is good. I could do it if I wanted to. I'm just tired of standing up. My back's on fire. My lower back is on fire. Even though I know how to stand, I've stood for hours. I've entertained the Renaissance Festival. You're on your feet all day for hours, but that was 20 years ago. So now I'm like, oh, that hurts more. So, and I'm sunburned on top of it. I didn't think to put on sunscreen of any kind. I should have, because I didn't feel like I was burning. And you'd think I'd know at this stage in my life that you burn whether you feel it like you're burning or not. It comes up later. So, but I was clothed, so at least my body, when naked, is not sunburned. But my face got it pretty good yesterday. And so this dunk tank, I see they have some of the kids that are out there, they're hawking on the street. And it was all shifts. Parents would do it or kids would do it to let the crowd know, hey, come on in, $2 for a ball, $5 for 3 balls. Dunk tank time. And they had shifts 20 years ago. Yeah, it seems like yesterday. And they had shifts where people would come in and do a half hour to an hour shift. Rainey signed me up for 3 hours the first day and 4 hours yesterday. So she must have confidence in my street barking. Hawking. We call it hawking at the fest. And so we'd get these kids who would go on half-hour shifts in the dunk tank. It's like, come and dunk a Boy Scout, and the money, all proceeds go to the local Scout chapter here. Your local, and it's Somerset. Everybody knows everybody. So for the most part, not lots of outsiders from other towns coming in, although there could have been. Anyway, so we've got the dunk tank going, and there were and when I got on there yesterday, especially, I'm looking, and there's this little kid. He's got to be 3rd or 4th grade at the most. And he's a skinny little kid. He's all of 3.5 feet tall. And he got up there and got dunked once, and he's wet, and the breeze is coming in. Even though it's warm outside, he's shivering up there. And he's just quiet and shivering, waiting for the next dunk. And so I'm hawking on the streets. And how do you get people to, unless you find people with a cruel streak, I'm out there hawking. I said, come and dunk the poor, shivering, freezing scout that weighs all of 37 pounds, soaking wet. And he is not saying anything up there. He's not throwing out insults or anything like that. So I'm insulting people. I'm calling people, they're throwing and they miss. And I go, oh, I said, Joe Biden could trip upstairs better than you can throw, or things like that. Oh, yeah, I'll go dig up my dead grandma. She can come and make a better shot than that. Blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Because you got to watch it. You can't get too randy because we're representing the Scouts. So, yesterday, Ellery, my little Ellery, I was so proud of her yesterday. She loves this stuff. She wanted to get in that dunk tank and be the dunk E. And so I'm announcing and stuff. And I said, I got one for you. Well, before I tell you that story, first, we had some local celebs up there. Like, we had one of the cops was up there. And if it had been one of the ones that had arrested me, I would have given him crap. But he was up there. One of the cops was up there, and We got like 5 or 6 cops in this town, if that. 4 or 5, 5 or 6. And so I get a cop in there, and then I could tell people, come and dunk a cop. And, and I'd tell them, hey, dunk a cop. And I said, he promises he will never pull you over for anything if you can dunk him. And, and we're throwing insults and all that and getting people. Then there was a couple of other people up there, a guy who owned the hardware store in town and things like that. It's a small town. And so I said, there's got to be a hook. You got to get out there and hook people in. And so Ellery wanted to come up, and I said, Ellery, I've got an idea. I said, memorize these lines. I said, I'm going to say that you're a wicked little kid that we're going to dunk. And I'm yelling to the crowd, and I use my big booming outside voice, and we're going to tell everybody that you're a rotten kid, and you want to dunk this kid. She deserves to be dunked. She looks small and cute, but she's rotten to the core. She's vicious. She's vile. And so then I looked at Ellery, who's in the tank, and I yelled, Ellery! This is what I told her to say, and she memorized it, and she did fantastic. I go, Ellery, tell these people what you think of them. Show them how vile and wicked you are. And she yells out, she gets her face on like this, and she growls, she goes, your father was a hamster, and your mother smells of elderberries. Gah! And she does one of those. Gah was the best part. And she's got her, and there's bars on the dunk tank. She's got her hands on the bars. So she's insulting them. That's what I told her to say. And she did it. She memorized it, and she did it better than I thought she would. She's got it in her. She's theater. She's all about the theater. She's all about the making it look good. And she put the attitude on. And I go, yes, that's my kid. And so I'm telling the crowds, come and elderberries. And I said, I'm saying to the crowds, come and dunk this innocent looking child, but she's not. She's wicked. She's rotten to the core. She's vile, and all these things. You're going to want to dunk her $2 for a ball, $5 for 3 balls. Come and dunk her. Are you going to let her talk to you that way? Oh, what'd she do? Listen to her. Your father was a hamster, she yelled, and it was great. And she started picking up on that. So it was fantastic. I had a good time with Ellery yesterday doing that. So she'll be great at festival one of these days. We'll get her in costume and have her doing festival, and I think she'll do fantastic. This coffee mug is bothering me because I can't look. That's all the further I can fit my fingers in that. What is it? It's meant for kids, obviously, but it's a monsterly huge mug. There. I gotta do this to balance it. Use 2 hands. So that's what we did yesterday. That's how I got sunburned yesterday. Out in the sun, and yelling at crowds. Come on in. Dunk a cop, I said. Dunk the law. And I taught one kid to use, we had a little megaphone that I've got. And I had that going, and so the kids could do it. It's like, come and dunk somebody. Dunk a kid. And I go, here's what you say. First of all, use your big voice. From the stomach, the diaphragm. And so I had one kid saying the stuff I was saying. It just wasn't quite as effective from him, because he was a little kid saying, hey, come and dunk a scout. Are your arms made of rubber or can you throw? you know. So it was fun, though. All in all, it was fun. And I got a bowl of pea soup. Probably could have had more if I wanted it. Oh, my goodness. Look who has called in to the show. Boom.
Good morning, sweetie. How are you?
How are you? How's my radio wifey?
Well, I thought I'd just come and say good morning to you. I'm actually on my way somewhere, but I saw you on and I thought I wanted to say good morning.
Well, good morning. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you, sweetie. Likewise. How are you feeling?
I am feeling fine. I'm a little dragged out today. Oh, look at this. We got a second driver. Everybody's driving this morning. Look at that. So,
Hey.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
So you both heading over?
Say again?
Well, we're actually.
I said, are you both heading over? Oh,
yeah, we're
right.
Yeah. They found us out. They found us out.
Yeah. Oh, here's Kevin Miller said, I'll get to the bottom of the bug and read for display purposes only. So what's going on, Wendy?
Well, I just had
JP.
lunch with Mark. We went to a very nice pub called the Cock Inn.
Nice. I always wanted to start a very, very British pub and call it the Cock and Dog.
Yeah.
So.
We went to it was called Cock Inn. Yeah. Cock Inn at Headley. Very nice dinner.
I designed the logo anyway, and everything, by the way. A rooster sitting on top of a white bulldog.
Oh, okay.
What was that, JP?
What was that,
JP? You broke your audio's breaking up a little. Try again.
Audio's breaking up a little. Try again. Yeah, I'm trying.
Oh boy.
It's one of those days.
Oh, JP, I'm going to take you down. Try me back.
Oh, JP, I'm going to take you down. Try me back. Oh, yeah. Maybe he'll drive into a clear spot.
Wow, I'm getting a 2-second delay.
A 2-second delay from.
And then there's just me.
And then there's just you.
And then there's just you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you now, and your lips are.
I can hear you now, and your lips are synced.
I can hear you, but you're coming and going.
I can hear you, but you're coming and going. Yeah, I don't know. It's wonky. Every time I get into the StreamYard thing and I'm in the car, it kind of signal goes wonky for some reason for a while.
I just think it's so cool.
You're driving.
And I'm driving. It's like, we're both driving. It's like, it's cool.
If I repositioned my camera because of how everything is on my end, our steering wheels would line up.
Oh yeah. Well, your camera, JP, you're both not reversed.
Not reversed.
So you're not doing it in.
Selfie mode. Well, I mean, it's using the rear or the screen-facing camera.
Just going to show that
each
other. We're in
Wendy has an echo.
Like that.
So
there's a little bit of something picking up in the background. I don't hear an echo from Wendy.
Oh well, it's probably routing through my mic. So what's on everybody's mind? Wendy called to just say hi. And it's great to see you, Wendy. Glad you had a good time at the Cock Inn.
Well,
is that a double entendre?
It's a pub.
You just came from.
Now, what kind of pub is this? Is this an upper crust pub, or is it a biker pub, or with a name like the Cock Inn?
Hang on a second.
One.
There's
in a roundabout.
Yes.
No, I can show you what I can show you what I can turn it around.
Turn it around.
Roundabouts on the M are fun.
Because you're getting the feedback from me, Scotty.
And her audio completely went away.
Just a little bit. I heard her that time.
So did yours.
So, as you can see, folks who are listening who are not driving, you can listen to this show mobile from. We've got JP.
I have lost all audio, guys.
What?
Stand by.
My audio?
I try to remedy this.
Wendy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, there you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So what I was saying is that I'm actually, my microwave blew up yesterday, so I'm actually going to buy a new one, as you do on a Sunday afternoon. And as I said, went for lunch with Mark, and I said, where are we going? And he goes, we're going to the Cock Inn. And I was like, okay. So when we went there,
Message.
lovely place, dog friendly, everything. But they turn up with the dinner, just the meat and Yorkshire pudding, and we're like, is there any potatoes, roast potatoes or anything like that?
No, bring your own potatoes.
Because we're British, we like our roast potatoes and our Yorkshire pudding.
I understand that.
I've lost all audio. I'm gonna try it back out. Come back in again.
Okay.
It was it was really nice. We had a really nice dinner, and it's a shame that the sad thing is you guys are so far away, and I know Scotty's going to come over here, and it'll be great to spend some time with Scotty. But time goes past so quickly that you're like, all the time we don't get to spend with each other, right?
Right.
Sad.
So I hear that. We'll have to go to the Cock Inn when I'm there.
Do you want to get? I was trying to be careful what I said there. No, be careful what you say. People can misconstrue it.
Oh yes. I'm
trying to be good and not say that. No.
Try to be good. You're trying to be good.
I was going to say, do you want to? No,
just say it. Just say it, and we'll know what you're talking about.
We'll take you so you can get a bit of the cock in for you.
Oh yeah, there we go. I'm on board.
Everybody needs a bit of cock in at times.
Happy Sunday morning, everyone.
Just saying, just saying.
It's Sunday.
So we don't have KB anymore. KB's gone, right?
I don't know where he is.
KB's gone.
Did he do a show this week? I was on his show recently.
He's not doing it anymore.
Last week it must have been.
He's doing the occasional one from now.
Yes.
And I will be back next Sunday with Wicked Women. When we're not back this Sunday, Val isn't too well, but
all right,
we're back next Sunday, and then Robertson on Tuesday.
All right,
I watched that again. It was really good, Scotty. It was.
We had a good time on Sunday.
It was really fun, wasn't it?
If you missed it, we talked about sex in Tudor England, and I got to wear my my doublet that I got from Dave, my Tudor doublet.
Uncle Dave.
So it was good times.
Had by one and all. I am sorry I missed that one.
Jason,
that's all right.
You didn't watch us.
You'll have a chance to do another one. I got to use two hands of this. It's so big and it's heavy, but the hole is too small for my finger.
What I had.
That looked like you were drinking vodka or something. Oh, this is such great vodka on the road. No. I only drink the small bottles while I'm on the road.
It's elderflower bubbly.
Oh, bubbly.
Bubbly.
Yeah. Mine's coffee.
See, it's interesting because people will call champagne bubbly, but you Brits call seltzer water with flavoring in it
bubbly.
I found it really weird. I went into a pub in Calgary and I said, "Can I have a lemonade?" And she looked at me and she was like, "Sorry." I said, "Oh, sorry, soda."
I like to see. I'm looking out your side window, Wendy.
Yeah.
Looking at people doing stuff in the background. You like to see what are people doing back there.
I don't think it'll let me turn it around. It won't let me turn around. This is where I am.
There it is.
Kind of
now
like
in front of some municipal building.
I'm going into Curry's. Everyone in the UK will know what Curry's is. It's kind of like your Best Buy.
Oh, nice. Yes.
See, they're saying curry, and I'm thinking like, curry chips.
No. Ugh. Why do people think that the British love curry chips? All of us
Curry
do,
chips.
But I just
fries with curry sauce.
Fries with curry sauce. I've never tried that, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of curry.
Not missing much.
So
Really not much.
The Germans enjoy it seems. So they have their currywurst.
Oh, telling me. Do you eat your fries, your chips,
curries
with curry sauce?
Shopping.
Going shopping.
Nothing that exciting. Anyway, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to go shopping, and I will see you guys soon. Mwah.
All right. See you, Wendy.
Later.
Nice to see you this morning.
Bye, Jason.
Bye, Wendy.
Pick up a nice microwave.
Cheers.
I will. Bye.
Bye. All right.
It won't let me. Now look at that. It won't let me leave.
It won't
my
let
God.
you go. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
Living it up at the Hotel California. Such a lovely
place.
Such a lovely place.
So where are you headed today?
I am heading back to St. Louis. I drove up to the Quad City areas of Illinois. Go check out the Rock Island Arsenal Museum.
Nice.
Rock Island Arsenal's up here at Rock Island.
This morning or like last night, and you stayed
yesterday.
over?
Yesterday, I rolled up. I left St. Louis in the morning and headed up that way, and to try to suss some stuff out with someone I know up here, but
I'm driving
no
home.
results on that. No, is what it is, I suppose. But
yeah,
try to hit a couple of the antique stores up here too, because I am trying to find mid-century modern stuff for the house, since my house was built in '54.
Yeah,
and
might as well go with the era. Yeah,
right. Well, and
little mid-century.
Those of us who have been, those who have been watching me on here with talking with you and everybody else knows that I gravitate towards the mid-century stylistically. Yes. So, yeah. Why not?
I do too. I do too. Frankly, I don't like modern furniture necessarily. We've got some, but I like antiques and I like mid-century. Mid-century folks, if you're not familiar, 50s and 60s Americana.
Yeah. I mean, you can even go as far back as that if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
You can go as far back as,
you could go back to the 40s. You could go back World War II era. Because really, it doesn't look a lot different when you get into the 50s.
You start getting the atomic age type stuff where
you get your kidney bean shaped end tables and things like that.
I would really. I've been eyeballing a modern production one because the modern stuff's a little easier to get at a reasonable price.
The Nouveau mid-century.
And there's some companies out there that actually make stuff that's like pretty spot on. So
I like the and I want to get one of these days. I've looked at them. They make modern remakes of these, but the kitchen table set that you think of in the 1940s and the 50s, that's got the formica on the top and the metal ridges around and the chairs.
Yeah, like a diner table.
You like diners. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to do that. Whenever I get to the point that I'm redoing my kitchen, I plan on replacing all the counters with with the laminate or Formica, and then the chrome belt line trim.
Yep, very cool.
Because it's just very cool. So it's
I would
little bit further down the road, but
one of the ideas that I've always had in the back of my head since I was very young, business ideas. And Rainey and I have talked about this. She has certain business ideas, things she wants to set up, and I do too. And I thought I would love to have a diner. And from the time I was a kid, I said, I want a diner. It's got the chrome and the Formica and the little round stools in front of the bar and a couple of booths. And you have a diner and you open it up. And I said, you just do simple. We go simple.
Right.
You go soda pop, malts, and shakes, burgers, and fries. Boom. That's it. And
it would be really cool if you could do it. And you could do it well. That's the big thing. You have to do it well.
Yes.
But are you familiar with like train car diners?
Yes.
Yeah. It's no bigger than a train car. They're very tiny.
We had big Mickey's Diner up here in St. Paul for decades. So
yeah. But just to have something simple like that in a place that gets good traffic
and coffee more.
You had a good enough menu.
Yeah.
And you do it well enough, you probably make some good money eventually. I mean, the first 5 or 6 years of owning a restaurant are struggling to break even. But
biscuits and gravy, says Susie Q. Morgan Snow's adding eggs. Well, if you have eggs, you got to have bacon. You got to have homemade
so when
pies.
I worked
homemade pies, says Susie Q. So now we've gone from burgers and fries to burgers, fries, eggs, biscuits and gravy, eggs and bacon, and homemade pie. We're becoming a restaurant instead of a burger joint.
Right.
But I'm not against any of those things. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
You get, if you get a lot of older guys that want to come in and have their morning group of coffee, like they always do, and you don't have breakfast. There's a great, I would call it affectionately, a greasy spoon here in Somerset. But it's not nappy or nasty or anything. It's nice. Kennedy's Cafe has been around for quite a long time. And you can go in there and get a great breakfast. And it's really good. The portions are big, but it's tiny. It's as small as this studio. And I think it can seat 12.
There was a place like that back in Grand Forks called Darcy's Cafe, and they were only open for breakfast through lunch, so they closed at like 1:30 or 2. And,
all I think was, when Darcy's drunken donkey won the race at Donegal. It's a Gaelic storm.
Yeah, but their food was awesome. But it was they had like a square counter section in the center. They had a couple of booths and small tables around that. But I mean, I'm pretty sure probably smaller than my garage back at Grand Forks, which was like 26 by 27.
Yes.
It was smaller than that, and that's a decent sized garage. But it's smaller than that. And
there was
good food.
There was a place, I think it's probably still there. I haven't checked it out in years. It was there 30 years ago, and it was pretty established. But a little place in Minneapolis, a section of the city called Dinkytown, and it was aptly named. It is the University of Minnesota campus, and where Dinkytown resides, and it's full of course shops and all kinds of stuff, and fairly eclectic. You would think when you think shopping districts in towns, you always think Rodeo Drive, and that kind of thing. Now, this was college campus, college level shopping. even though it's bumped up a little bit over the years. And they had fantastic restaurants and cafes there. And there was a little place called Al's Breakfast. It couldn't have been any wider than this room that I'm sitting in, which is 18. I want to say it's 18 feet across my room here. But it was deep. You get the impression of looking in and you're looking into a semi-truck almost, long and narrow. And they had the bar would run the long, narrow way all the way down to the end. And the chefs were on this side. And people would wait in line leaning up against the wall, talking, while people are on stools in front of them eating. Now, I think anybody with major anxiety could probably not eat there because they'd be, oh my God, I'm taking too long. Oh, somebody behind me needs to get in here. I got to eat fast. And that didn't have that atmosphere at all. So, and it was a very cool place. And, but you go there and it was Greasy Spoon Breakfasts. Al's Breakfast, it was called. And that was their specialty. And so places like that. And Dinkytown, it just brings, I'm trying to get the words to evoke the images in your mind. Think of a major university campus and the town that grows off it, like the camp followers at Roman forts, What do they call those? The towns that grew off of the Roman forts. What were those called? Now I got to look it up.
Yeah, I can't
Towns that grew up around British Roman forts. They were called.
Half a mile. Use the left 2 lanes to stay on I-74.
Let's see. The civilian settlements around the Sedgedunum? No, I don't think that's it. The Sedgedunum, that's definitely a Roman word, but that's not the word I'm thinking of. Sedgedunum must be...
Use the left 2 lanes to stay on I-74.
Towns that grew up around British Roman forts were called what? I'm trying to be educational for you here this morning, folks. Civil settlements grew up adjacent to most established Roman forts and are known at many of the forts along Hadrian's Wall. These settlements have been relatively little studied, either Britain or elsewhere. What were towns called in ancient Rome? No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, well, I guess it's not common enough. I've heard the word. Is it castrum? Kester or Chester. Pronounced Kester, like you go to Lancaster. And that would be, Kester was from the Latin word castrum, which means fort. So, but that's not the word. Anyway, that's what Dinkytown in Minneapolis is like around the University of Minnesota campus. It's like these Roman fort towns that would build up and grow up around the big town. Not a shire, Susie. No, there's a different word, and I can't think of what it is. But Jason's crossing a bridge. I see the iron girders, steel girders. Very picturesque.
Trusses, however you'd say that.
Yeah.
Trusses.
So, but try to picture in your mind. And the era where I got to know Dinkytown was the hippie era. When I was a kid, my aunt lived near.
Far out, man.
Groovy. And so it's got a slight bit of the positive edge of grunge to it, which came later than the hippie era. But it's got that whole feel. It's an artsy kind of town. I don't think it's very expensive there for college kids, and it runs for a few blocks in either direction. And then you start hitting all the what used to be the old mansions in Minneapolis, now all converted into frat houses and sorority houses and student housing and things like that. surrounding it. And so it was a pretty neat place. And it was safe for kids. You can go ride your bikes or go walking around Dinkytown. We're going to Dinkytown. And so it was a safe place. And so it's still got a nice feel to it. There's great shops. I used to go to Magus Books over there quite a bit. There's a metaphysical shop. There's other bookstores. There was a place I used to go an awful lot called the Loring Cafe, which was fantastic. The Loring Pasta Bar, it was called. And you could walk in there, and the decoration, the ambiance was out of this world. I mean, it was 2 floors, open atrium, and you could sit upstairs, but it was all decorated, plants and hanging things and all this. A lot of ambiance in there. It was very cool. So it was there for years, and it just shut down not long ago.
That's stupid.
Vicus, that's it, I think. Susie Q. Vicus or Vicus? That's it. The Vicus. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced. You know, where I learned that word was in ancient Rome. The Latin term vicus, or plural vici, maybe it's vicus, designated a village within a rural area, a pagus, or the neighborhood of a larger settlement. The vicus or vicus. So there it is. And I don't know how it's pronounced. Vicus. I think I've heard them say vicus. But where I learned that term, even though I forgot the word, was Tony Robinson with his time team, which ran for over 20 years out of Great Britain. And it was where they would go in. I've mentioned this show before. Fantastic show. You can watch it on YouTube. You can catch all the episodes. I watch all these episodes. And I started watching it when I was recovering from my heart surgery. So I'd be sitting around mostly for a few weeks and catching new things to watch. And I saw this show on archaeology. And their shtick was, and Tony Robinson was always known for comedy. He was a comedy writer and producer, and he was in, if you've ever seen Blackadder, he was Baldric in Blackadder. And so he started this series up, and it ran for almost 20 years, if not more, where they would go into these locations, and they'd have the shtick was 3 days. 3 days to do their archaeological shtick to uncover this mystery or this thing, or somebody would call them and say, we were out in our garden, we were digging, and we hit, a tile floor. And so they'd come out and look at it. So they'd had 3 days to uncover this and to find out what's down there, or a skeleton, Roman burial grounds. And a lot of it ended up being Roman because of Roman Britain. And so a very intriguing show and fun. And he made it fun. So it was a...
It's interesting. 3 days isn't a lot of time to do.
No, it's not a lot of time. And so they... And it was interesting. He says he'd always introduce it. I'm walking along the moors here where this is, and this and that, and there's the old Roman road there. And from the air, and he shows a picture, he says, you can see that there's something beneath the ground here. There are structures. And that's the way they would show up because of the acidic nature, if I'm correct about that, the acidic nature of stonework underneath the ground. Even if it's been there for 2,000 years, you're going to get the flat. Farmers may have plowed those fields for hundreds of years, but from the air, you can see where there are still structures under the ground, and they might be 2 feet down. And so they go out there, and they'll take a big shovel, a steam shovel, and where they have permission to get in there with one, and they'll dig down, and they run the radar first. The ground penetrating radar to see where things are. And geotech or something he calls it, and that advanced through the course of the show too. The technology advanced over that 20 years, and so they would uncover things. But he'd introduce it. There's said to have been a Roman fort here. There might even be a Roman villa here from some of the artifacts that were churned up in plowing. And he'd show a few things that the farmer had found. And he says, so our task, he says, is to find the Roman villa. And we've got, as you know, he says, we've got 3 days to do it. And so they'd start morning till night for 3 days. And sometimes, most of the time, they came up with some really cool stuff. And sometimes they'd come up with things totally unexpected. They thought they were digging up, medieval ruins, and they find Bronze Age villages, things like that. So now maybe some of you, if you're not into history and archaeology, you might not go, wow, I got to catch that. I would say it's worth watching because it wasn't just a dry show for people who like archaeology. It was a great show, and they made it interesting. And as a matter of fact, I think it was almost strictly because of that show that Queen Elizabeth knighted Tony Robinson because of his contribution to British history. And so it's really a good show. If you've never watched it, look it up. Time Team. Now, they've revived that show. I think Time Team went off the air. It ran all through the 90s and most of the early 2000s to the mid 2000s. I think they went off the air 2010 to 2012, somewhere in there. And they've revived the show now a couple of years ago. And it's got different people and every now and then. But there's some of the old timers are still there. Some of the older archaeologists, the older geotech people. Some of them have gone on, and they're doing much bigger jobs in the historical trust in England, but they're there on the show, and it's funny watching them, the older shows, and you see them and you're enjoying them, and they're people that nice and young. They look like Jason over there, and now you see them when they revive in the show. They've all got white hair and craggy necks, and all of this, and Tony Robinson makes a rare appearance on that show, but he's not the main thrust of it anymore. But because Tony's got to be, he has got to be in his late 70s, maybe even early 80s at this point, and he's not decrepit by any means, but I think he probably just slowed that down a bit. But man, was he was fun to watch. He made it fun and exciting, and well worth watching. Time Team on you can catch it on YouTube. Look it up. Just look up Tony Robinson. And Tony's also done a couple of other shows since then. And this was in the last 5, 6, 7 years. He did something like the Ancient Roads of England, where he would find the old roads that were old Roman roads and old Saxon roads and things like that, and follow them on foot, walking the ancient paths, walking the ancient tracks of England, something like that. And some of it's like being out in the wilds in a national park, and you're following a trail. And he says this was the Ichthyus Way or something like that, that the Romans followed. And so it was very, very cool. And it was a great show. And it's one of those shows that's good for I don't know. That particular show had 10 episodes, I think. Maybe that's it. But he'd always meet people along the way. And so, like, he's walking through the woods, this forest in England, following this old dirt path, which was an old road, and there'd be somebody there singing as he'd walk up to one spot, and Dale here has met us. Dale, it's good to see you. Dale's revivalist of old, medieval songwriting and singing, and he sang those songs that had that. You can think of the melodies if you, I wish I knew some of those songs so I could mimic it. But I walked down the road and saw a wee flower. Those kinds of songs, and they sound very impromptu, and that's what this guy did, and just neat stuff. So you learn a lot of stuff. If you're into that, you'd love it. Morgan Snow, you'd love it. Look it up. Look up Tony Robinson, Ancient Tracks or Walking the Ancient Tracks or Roads of England. You'll love the show. And he does it, and he goes through all the history that took place in those places. He's got like a hanging hill. He does something in, if I'm not mistaken, Jane Austen country, down on the moors. And going through all these old roads, and it's very cool. So you'd enjoy it. And I love that kind of stuff. So
there was a show I used to watch on the regular as a kid and early teen. And you actually might remember this show. It came on the Discovery Channel. At least that's where I remember.
Okay.
But it was called Beyond 2000. And
the title isn't grabbing me right away, but I've probably seen it.
You had your regular host, and then you had a co-host that would pop up, with, hey, we're going to take it over to this person to, here's so-and-so with more. And it was Soledad O'Brien was the co-host. And
that's pretty neat.
That was, I remember with that show, it was the first time that I'd ever really heard the British pronunciation of the metal aluminium.
Aluminium. And I used to do that. The first time I heard that, I go, does that even spell out right? Aluminium. Yeah, I guess it works. Except there's no IUM at the end. Aluminum. Right. Aluminium.
Right.
So anyway.
I don't know. Maybe Wendy will, hop back on when she's done at Curry's. And she can
she'll have to tell us about aluminium. Aluminium. Or some of the other ones, medicine. Medicine, they would call medicine. What we call medicine. Medicine. Or they'd always put the article in front of hospital. No, they'd take it out. We would say, I'm going to the hospital. Brits will say, I'm going to hospital.
Right.
Or I'm going on holiday. Things like that. Yeah. So Morgan, look it up. I'd show it to you if I could grab an episode of it right now. I'd grab an episode and show you.
That show was cool because it always talked about what was the up and coming tech, what was the latest thing, and it always had really interesting stuff on that. That's not a history one per se, but in terms of educational shows and things like that, it was easy to watch, easy to understand, interesting. Interesting information presented in an interesting way.
Yes.
Rather than, some of the dry stuff that's out there.
By the way, I'm looking at this. He's got one where he's walked Hadrian's Wall. And what he does, he just puts on, I'm sure they drive through some of these, but they film him walking all these areas. And he shows a map at the beginning saying where he's going, what he's going to look at. I just want to see if I can actually even download one of these and show you what it is. At great risk of losing my. No, they won't tag me too much. I want to see if this will let me download this, and I'll show you guys what it's like. And to me, the Ancient Tracks show, along with the music they chose for it, I thought download this. Okay, install update. So I'm only going off on this as long as I am because I find it interesting, and I think you guys probably would too. So if you're into this show, my show, you'd be into this show of Tony Robinson's. So let's see if we can grab it. I'm going to just see if I can grab a bit of the episode and show you. Let's me grab it. Is it downloading it or not? It's downloading it. That. And if it does, I'll just show you what it's. Yeah, it's downloading. It's actually downloading for me. There's some things on YouTube. If you want to copy the video, you can't do it. So, anyway. Raini Roberts. Oh, she's sending me reels. Raini Roberts sends me reels in the other room. Or she's upstairs now. So, but yeah, if nothing else, if you're interested in this kind of thing, there's great shows to watch, and it's going to make you want to go exploring. And this is one thing about Scott Walter I mentioned the other day. What I like about him is we think in America there's nothing to find. We go, oh well, we're only been around for 250 years, so there's nothing here. But
current government has only been, and nation state, if you will, has only been around for 200
yes. But there's been civilization here. They're saying there's been civilization here since the Bronze Age, which is 4,000 years ago. So it's very interesting. Oh, by the way, saying 4,000, it made me think of this. If any of you have ever wondered, this is totally free and off to the side here, non sequitur. My daughter was asking me. She was watching Moana the other day, the animated Moana.
Yeah.
And, Dad, when is Moana supposed to take place? I said, I don't know. I said maybe around. I was thinking maybe it's around the time of the explorers, Cook, Captain Cook in the South Sea Islands and so on. The story takes place. The actual story takes place 2,000 years ago. So I didn't know that. When you're watching Moana, when you get home and you throw Moana in, Jason, to watch and sing along to, that story is 2,000 years old. So it's interesting. So you're thinking, wow, the time of Christ is when that was supposed to have taken place. So
yeah, it's interesting when you think about stuff like that, timelines and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's obviously the very much the want, if you will, to focus, especially here in the West, to focus on what was going on in the time of Christ in that year, and it gets lost. Everything else that's going on in the world at that time kind of gets lost.
Yes.
I was thinking about 2,000 years ago in Asia and everything that there's massive amounts of history.
Yes.
And we look through it in a narrow focused lens.
Because we don't think about what kind of civilization was around at certain times. Right. So myopic with our understanding of history and what took place when and where. And then you find out, oh, wait, China had a whole amazing ancient civilization for millennia. And what was going on in China 2,000 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way we view things in terms of where we're at today in relation to history. And I've probably brought this up before, I've quoted it before, but Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
Actor, comedian, executive, transvestite.
Yes. And I've seen him in things and I go, he's playing like a heavy or a thug in some movie. And you watch me go, That's not Eddie. Yeah, it is. That's Eddie Izzard. So
Right.
very versatile.
Yeah, exactly. There was in his Dress to Kill special that he did. He had this great thing where he was like, oh yeah, in England we're all kind of like,
Oh yes, yes.
yes, I'm from England. The history comes from, and he's like,
Yes.
when you come to the States and stuff, let's talk about coming to the States and how people look at it. And it's like you look around, they're all like, we've restored this building to how it was over 50 years ago.
Yes.
Why no one was alive then.
Yes, 50 years ago.
It's he's right though. We have a very myopic view of as you put it, of history.
Yes. You know what I love are things like
we don't recognize it on a societal level.
Yeah.
Like the nebulous construct, the length of things.
And in sticking with a Tony Robinson theme, he's done other shows that he's put together, like the Quest for Robin Hood, finding the assassination of Julius Caesar, or he did a miniseries on the Romans in general. And he brought you in one of his shows to the location where Julius Caesar was assassinated. And they have found through all their research, they used to think it was kind of like right here in the old where the old Senate building was and so on in the Forum, the ruins in Rome. And he says, but he says it's really back here. It would have been behind here in this building, which he walks you through this. It looks like a cavern, but it's a restaurant. It's a modern restaurant. And there's tables all set up with white tablecloths and things. And he's walking you through, and he says, if you come around this little corner here, he says, right here where these tables are sitting, this would have been the actual floor of the old Senate House, and they say this is the spot. The old brick walls are still the same ones, and all of this that's in there. And he said this would have been the spot where Julius Caesar was assassinated, right here amongst these tables. Well, come on over here. We'll just stand over there. It's my young daughter is like 12-year-old. Let's get her here. There she is. Well, come here. What? Why? What happened?
Sammy, we were at Mall of America yesterday, and you didn't take me.
I didn't know they were there. And you're crying because, come here. Look at this. Look at this face, everybody. Look at that face.
Stop.
Real tears.
There was a whole lot of judgment going on there.
Oh, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we didn't know. I would have taken you gladly. Why are we mean? We didn't know about it. You got to let us know these things. I should have looked on TikTok.
Yeah.
Gosh, I wonder if my daughter's favorite world-renowned ghost investigators are going to be at the Mall of America today. Let's check, honey. I didn't know that.
Who's going to be at Mall of America?
It was Sam and Colby. Sam and Colby, if you've ever seen them. They've been around for about 6 or 7 years. And they started as a couple of dumb kids on the internet doing dumb, stupid, rollicking things on the internet. And, a parent would watch it and go, oh, God, I let my kids watch this crap. But they started doing, and they were just being stupid all the time, as older teenagers. Then as they started getting into college age and all that, they started doing more ghost investigating. And they bring friends along, and their friends were always stupid. And just stupid. I'm like, oh, why do they even let these guys? But their popularity was growing, and they started doing more, and they started getting more serious because they kept running into things. Now, they still do stupid antics and all that, but they have become very serious about their ghost hunting. And They've got millions of followers. So you know your YouTube is doing okay when you're 20 years old and you're taking 6 people to England for 2 weeks to investigate, you know, and your camera crew and everything like that. Well, they did their own cameras and stuff, but
Right.
so you know they're doing all right off of this, and they've become pretty well known. Joe Rogan had him on not long ago on his show, and so. But apparently they were at the Mall of America yesterday, which is about 40 minutes from here.
I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this girl.
Come over here for you to talk so people can hear. I'm not just looking off to the side.
I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this girl, and she was at the mall. She had a little location thing, and it was at the Mall of America, and she was with Sam and Kobe.
Are you sure they were there yesterday?
Oh my God! I'll go get it.
Sounds like jealousy. What's going on there?
Yes, yes.
I did see
She
that
had-
Josh Gates was going to be somewhere in St. Louis.
She had little tears down here. She had tears in her eyes because she missed them, and they were so close. She wanted us to take her to see them once, and it was like $800 a ticket to meet them and get an autograph. I was like, we're not doing that this weekend. So something like that. It was some exorbitant price.
Yeah, that's one of those things I never understand. It's like, where do you get that your time is worth my $800?
Right. Like we talked about, with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Why does it cost what? I'm sorry, what? $37,000 for an hour and a half? I got other things I could do with that money, like pay my mortgage. So
Exactly. Well, and that's one of those things. It's interesting with celebrity and stuff like that. And I don't know. Maybe this is why I would never end up that way, or why I never win the lottery, or things like that. Where it's like, you get all that kind of money. Like, how much is enough?
Right. Now, by the way,
you make enough money. You've invested smartly. You've saved smartly. You've done some things where you're going to get royalties off of it.
Yes.
All these people out there that come to the conventions and the shows and all that stuff, they're the reason why you even have what you have.
That's right.
$5 entrance. It's like.
Yes.
Look, 14 hours ago, Mall of America, and they're right there.
14 hours ago, Sam and Colby, the blonde kid and the dark-haired kid, at the Mall of America. There they are. That's them. If you've never seen them, look up Sam and look, the little girl put her hand over her mouth because she got to meet them. And so 14 hours ago at the Mall of America. There you go, guys. If you want to see Sam and Colby, they are worth watching. They're all right. If you can get past some of the teenage antics that they do, you'll enjoy their show. Pull that up. If you want to be on with me, pull it up. Pull it up. So there is this is Rowan, by the way, listeners, and our cat Bob Saget. His name is Bob Saget.
No, it's not. It's Bing Bong.
I've told this story before, but that was the deal. Okay, I'll let you. You can only have a cat if Dad gets to name him. Because I didn't want a second cat. We already had
No,
Oscar.
That's not even how the story went. You said you can have a cat if we can name it. So I started looking for cats, and then you told me you weren't going to buy me a cat, so I started crying, and then you got me a cat.
Yeah, my daughter cried. So I said, okay, I'll get the cat. I said, but I get to name it. And the name was one word, Bob Saget. So there you go. Hey, Bob, says Susie Q. Look at that cat. Look at him. Not animal or anything, huh? And he's not as fat. He's not. That's a bad angle. I'm not that fat, he says. He's actually kind of a thin young cat. Bob. He hated it when we put a bell on him. He's got this little tinky bell. So we knew where he was. But he's the great Nimrod. We should rename him Nimrod because he's a mighty hunter. He goes out in the yard and he won't come in the house. He's like, I'm going to be outside. And he brings us birds all the time. He kills birds and brings them in.
We have to save half of them and keep them.
Yeah, some of the birds we have to nurse back to health. It's like, Bob, you can't kill the birds. He stalks and kills them, brings them in the house, and lays them in front of the sofa. Like, here you go. And so we have a bird, an injured bird, flopping around on the living room floor. So, it's like, why? Thank you, Bob.
That's a fun one with Nimrod there that you mentioned that, because that is a word and name that has morphed over time to be an insult. Thanks to was it Harry Melodies or Looney Tunes or whatever.
It was an honorable name. Here, let me see again. And from the time he was a little kitten, we always held him like this, and so he let us do that stuff. Yeah, now he's looking at it like, yeah. Well, what you looking at? You looking at? And he tolerates me. I'm his boss, so he tolerates me more than anybody else. He's not, and he's a cool cat. He's cool. So, yeah, he's a good kitty. There he is. That was unrehearsed, by the way. We didn't know we were going to have Bob on. So, hunting for you. LOL, my cat brought me a rabbit, says Susie Q. Mid-sized even. Freaked me out. Here you go. Here's your, let's make some Ossenpfeffer. So, German dish. I learned that word from Bugs Bunny. Remember the episode? The episode's got to be 50 years old if it's a day. But it's some chef chasing him down to make, a German chef wanted to make some Ossenpfeffer. And he finds out it's rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it when they're half eaten, says Morgan Snow. Yeah. Well, thank you for the half eaten mouse. It's like a cat sitting there licking his paws. He goes, there's your share. I went and
right. I'm sharing the other half with you, man. Why don't you want to? I don't understand. Why are you insulted?
I don't understand why you're grossed out by that. So, we're like, hey, we've got lots of dry nuggets that we mix with some wet cat food every now and then for you. You should be just fine. The head. Yes, is Morgan Snow. They leave you the head. You make good roast beef. Ma, let's see what you can do with this. Says Susie Q. Exactly. So, here, I got to see if I was downloading a Tony Robinson episode. I wonder if it's done yet. 1.83 of 1.83. I've got 1.0 megabytes of gigabytes. Oh, that's going to take forever to download. I don't know why. I was trying to download just the intro to Ancient Tracks of England. Maybe I'll have it for another time. But yeah. Oh well. Too bad. So sad. So I was going to play that for you. You could see what it was like, but you got to download the whole episode. So anyway, I'm wondering if they have even the show opening. I'm going to see. We'll see. I don't think they do. That's too bad. I was looking for a short clip of the opener to one of his shows, but it takes forever to download these things. So,
yeah.
Here, but some of the episodes, if you've wondered, broken down into episodes. I wonder of where he's gone with them. and I can't just play it. I can't connect to it, and you won't hear the sound. I could play the video, and you could see it, but you wouldn't be able to. There's something about you have to upload a video into the program to be able to actually enjoy it. So
Yeah, sharing your screen.
right. So I'll just continue letting that download, and we will on another occasion. I'll edit out just the opening credits so you get the idea what it's like. So what time we got? We got 10:23. And so what's on everybody's mind? You're still driving. How far away from home were you?
It's about, let's call it 4 hours for easy numbers. So
a little ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like 266 miles or some such. Yeah.
I used to have a woman that I would go see up in Duluth, and she was 145 miles away. So I would hop in the car and drive up and visit her, and sometimes and come back home the same day. So it all depended. You know, it's a 2-hour drive, a little over.
The things that we will do for other people sometimes.
The things we do for love. The things we do for love. Yeah. So,
it's just always really great when things don't go as planned, or don't go how we
yes.
to. And then you kind of sit there being like, God, I spent all this time doing all this. What? You know?
Right.
There's at least got to be a lesson in here. Is there a lesson in here somewhere?
Yeah, there must be a lesson here somewhere.
Right. Yeah. No, it's pretty country out here, though. And
I loved driving the country. When I worked up in Utah a few years ago for several months, and I had to drive the Tesla back down to my buddy's house, who owned his own company for doing the roofing we were doing. I had to drive it from Utah down to Texas, and then flew back home from Dallas. And so I drove all the way across Utah. I can't remember how I took the route I took down. I think I crossed the Rockies up north there, and then came down on the east side. And if I remember right, I ended up going through a little bit through Arizona, maybe. I can't remember now. But it was a neat drive. I drove through what's the big continental divide out there?
With the Continental Divide.
The Continental Divide. And I'd never seen that before. And you're driving through it, and you're like, and you could see the vista going off with the rift, you know? And, wow.
For those in the audience who don't know about the Continental Divide is the point within the United States where all rainwaters that land there diverge and go east and west from that point within the continental United States.
And
I forget what the elevation is, but it's it's gorgeous.
The geological rift you can see, you know, where it's the land has, you know, shot up on this side, and there's like a ridge of mountains going all the way back, and it's very obvious that it was like somebody took it and went like that. And so driving through that and around it, and that was just crazy amazing. So made you feel very small.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I stopped and checked it out when I was traveling 66 back in 15.
Ah, nice.
And it's it's a really interesting thing. I mean, it's a gorgeous thing to see.
Yeah.
It's so impressive and kind of breathtaking in a way.
Yeah.
Breathtaking, but word stealing.
Another place that I thought was really amazing was crossing. I don't know where we were. It was Oklahoma or Kansas. We were driving up from Dallas, Rainey and the kids and I, and we were coming up. This was about 6 years ago ish, somewhere in there. And we were driving up, and we hit the open plains where you just got the freeway and going off in either direction as far as the eye could see was nothing. And that went on for a good hour and a half solid of driving through absolutely nothing. But it was green, and every now and then you'd spot a little hill out there, or you'd spot a cabin over there, an old barn or something. And
where'd you say this was?
It was coming north,
eastern North Dakota,
Texas, going straight north from Texas to Minnesota.
Texas.
And we were coming out of Texas. It was into what's north of Texas? Kansas?
Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma.
And then
So
what is it?
it was going through Oklahoma to Kansas to in that range.
Yeah.
And I stopped and I had the kids. It had to be Oklahoma because the wind was right behind the rain. So I had the kids stand out there on a big rock or something on the side there, and looking at that background. And the wind was just howling. There were no clouds that I can think of, or there weren't rain clouds or anything. It wasn't like stormy, but it was toward the end of the day, and I set them up there, and the wind's just howling through, and but there was nothing to see, and it was pretty amazing. Pretty neat stuff.
There is something truly visually stunning about vast expanses.
Yes.
Even if it's just like it's a whole lot of nothing. It's like, yeah, it's a whole lot of nothing,
Right.
but there's something almost tangible with it.
Yes.
You can feel the vastness.
I know, that was it. It was palpable.
Right.
You know, it's like being up in the Rocky Mountains. I had experienced that once before, in the early 80s, up in the Rocky Mountains camping. And we were standing up on this mountain, and you're looking down into whatever the valley was. I don't know, it was up above Denver. And there was this river just snaking, undulating through the landscape down below, and we're in the wild, and it was so quiet. When they say it was so quiet, it was deafening. That's almost what it was like. It was so quiet, and it was you're in the middle of all these mountains, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's nothing, there's no one here. It's just us. And so yeah, it was pretty crazy. And it's not desolate, but you're in the middle of nowhere, and you suddenly realize I'm in the middle of nowhere. And it's hours to get to any kind of semblance of civilization.
Right.
And it was really something.
It really is. That's kind of one of the things that I really enjoy about riding out in the Southwest.
Yes.
There is just something about, again, that palpable vastness.
Yes.
It's almost alien as well.
Yes.
You know, if you've
It's
grown
got
up
that feel.
Right. If you've been on the eastern side of the country for most of your life, and you go out to the desert, and it's just,
Right.
expansive desert, mesas,
Mhm.
things like that. It's kind of hard to describe. I guess
It's very hard to describe. It's almost a feeling that you get while you're there.
It really is. It really is. I mean, there's little things that you can talk about that are, obviously, amazing and easy to describe. The painted desert. You can talk about the colors that you see at at certain points of the day when the sun's hitting everything just right, and all the different striations in the sandstone and in the rock.
Yes.
Those are easy to describe, but there's that palpable something.
Yes.
that vastness that is it's you can't adequately describe it. And no, it's just kind of amazing driving through all that. It's one of those things too that if you get up on some of the mesas and things like that, or if you're in a higher elevation coming down into a lower elevation, you can kind of
Yes.
see everything as you're going into it. It's like, whoa.
Yes.
That's all you can kind of do as you come up on it. Just whoa. We've all seen the movie Cars.
Right.
So when they're out there driving around and in the desert kind of areas, and you see all of those mesas and plateaus and stuff where it looks like car fins. That's all taken off of stuff off of Route 66 and driving out around there. They made it, they adapted it to that world. But
Right.
I remember riding west, and I'm sitting there riding along, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, good God, that geological figure over there looks exactly
Right.
like from Cars. It's like, oh, this is that spot. They saw this, they translated it to that.
Yes.
It's really, it's kind of crazy. I highly recommend it to anybody just to do that kind of stuff. Los Alamos, if you ever get up to Los Alamos, that's beautiful up there. And New Mexico is an interesting spot in general because you go north of the I-40 corridor, and you drive long enough, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in all kinds of tall conifers, and it stops being the desert, kind of rain and vegetation. And then if you go south of the I-40 corridor, eventually you get out, you'll end up in places like Carlsbad and oh God, Jason, Roswell. There we go.
Roswell,
So
yes.
it's like,
Roswell, New Mexico. I'd love to go to Roswell just to see it. So.
Right. Well, I was going to, I guess 2020 and all that, when the pandemic hit and all that crap, but
Right.
everything was closed there. I had the kiddos out, and I was like, you know what? Let's go to Roswell, New Mexico. Let's go find a UFO.
Yeah.
Let's go see the.
You weren't going to storm the gates with everybody, were you?
No. That was
a dumb idea, I think.
I mean, some of the memes coming out of that was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Good God. Some of the memes that people still make about it, referencing it, are just as hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was all closed. It was really, disappointed in that one. And
yes.
Speaking of traveling, I am now on.
Where are you now?
I am driving into Sherman, Illinois.
Sherman.
Which is a part of Route 66.
Illinois, did you say?
Yeah.
Are you going in the right direction to go home?
I am.
I see. Is Illinois north of where you live?
It's north and east, so I'm heading.
Oh, so you were way up. Okay, got it.
So you got to remember, Route 66 runs from Chicago down through Illinois, you have towns like Springfield, Pontiac,
Right.
Sherman, the place that I stopped yesterday morning and grabbed a breakfast Sammy. But then it enters into Missouri at St. Louis. And it crosses over from Illinois into St. Okay. At one point, it crossed over from Illinois into Missouri at the Chain of Rocks Bridge, which is an interesting bridge because it had a dog leg in it. And so you had this weird turn. And, eventually just for, age of the bridge and efficiency of travel, safety, things like that, they put up a new bridge. They closed off the Chain of Rocks.
Right.
But yeah, snakes through St. Louis and then continues on, exiting Missouri in Joplin.
Joplin.
Yeah, it goes into Joplin and it enters into Kansas for 13.1 miles, I think it is.
And that's it.
Yeah, they've got this little tiny wedge of the southeastern corner of Kansas, and then into Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma into Texas, into Mexico, into Arizona into California, and yeah, so it's I figured, you know what? Let me hop on to 66 on this.
Yeah.
This jaunt home. I may get home a little bit later, but you know what?
It's sometimes just worth it to take the trip. That's it. You just want to take the trip and do it. Veer off the beaten path.
Right.
So, anyway. You might be breaking up just a little bit on me, but I can't quite tell yet.
My signal's getting a little dodgy looking at the signal bars. We'll see what happens now that I'm off the interstate.
Yes.
Could change things up a little bit there, being away from the interstate.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. So if I lose you guys, I apologize.
If I lose you, then you're gone. Because if I lose you, we'll probably
until I rejoin the interstate. Right.
I haven't had anybody else want to call in today so far, other than you and Wendy, and that's okay. If anybody wants to talk about anything,
is that okay? I think there needs to be more call-ins. What is going on here, guys? Come on.
I think there needs to be as well. So, anybody wants to call in, now's the time. Because I've got no topics left for today. We're just talking. We're just having morning coffee.
Yeah.
We're just doing our thing. So if you want to call in, here we are. So.
Oh man, I'm probably gonna have to. Well, no, there's something for Eastern 66. Okay, cool. We're still tracking on 66. We're good.
Right on.
You start hearing dueling banjos before I do, let me know.
Ding 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 ding.
I saw a couple of guys do that at a rockabilly show, and oh my god, it was amazing. It was, it had the whole crowd worked up. It was
nice.
And the one guy was actually on a banjo. The other guy was on an old 50s electric guitar style, hollow body, double cut kind of thing. And it just sounded amazing once the double bass came in and rockabilly beat started kind of bumping out from the drummer. Like it just it took off, man. It was smoking.
Nice. So, We get back on the beaten path here. There we are. Oh, Roger Rabbit is here. How you doing, Roger? Good to see you.
But is Roger Rabbit going to call in?
Roger, you need to call in. One of these days, you got to break down and call in, brother. Carly calls in all the time. Used to. One of you should call in this morning. Yeah, 31 years, he says, doesn't seem that long of a lifespan for a bridge structure. They must have needed to do something to it. He says the original.
Oh, did he look up the chain of rocks?
Yep.
Yeah.
That bridge is still open for biking and walking.
Yep. Still is, though.
Built in 1949, then they closed it to vehicles in 1970.
Yeah. Yeah, there were structural issues, the design things, and efficiency. They could get across the river, in a better, more efficient straight line way and be able to carry more vehicle weight.
And by the way, Roger, mowing the grass before joining us on this show. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
That's unacceptable. That is.
I need to mow grass today.
I will mow the lawn after It's Sunday show. I will deal with the heat. If there's going to be more heat.
Your lawnmowers on Sunday morning. My neighbor's mowing his lawn again on Sunday morning. So,
yeah.
Then again, it might be before the heat of the day. Now, they're in Illinois. Roger and Carly.
Oh, okay.
So,
what part of Illinois?
Well, I remember I was driving down to North Carolina to pick up my son Sam when we went down to Louisiana, which was in 2020. And we had a blizzard as I was coming out of Minnesota, and I thought, oh man, this is going to be shitty to have to drive through.
Yeah.
And all the way down to, I was going to stop and see Roger and Carly, and I was inhibited by the blizzard. I had to stay in a hotel. I had to veer off the highway. And there was, I remember seeing it. There was no visibility, and I don't know how we were stopped. I think there were finally troopers out there. They had lights flashing and everything, and there was a semi across both lanes of the highway. And if you'd have been you'd have plowed right into that in the heavy snow. You wouldn't have seen it, and if you'd have slammed on your brakes, you'd have slid right through it.
Oh yeah.
So I missed that, but right in there. And the next morning it was clear, but there was still snow. And within 40 minutes, I was in green grass because I was heading southeast, going to North Carolina. So I got into warmer climes.
Yeah.
So,
it's always really interesting when you're driving.
Oh, Indiana. I'm sorry, Indiana, not Illinois. There you go. Sorry, right on the border.
Yeah, it's always very interesting when you end up driving through different climates. Yeah. Just going from one to the next. I
enjoy driving. We when we were out in North Carolina, South Carolina, where my daughter had her wedding. It was 5 years ago already.
Oh, where'd you go, Scotty? You there?
I turned myself off.
Yeah, what was up with that?
And I closed the window all right. So
yeah, I had to carry the show for 30 seconds. I don't know what the heck I was doing, man.
Yeah. Oh, Roger says we were Morgan Snow said darn squirrels are eating my strawberries.
Oh, jeez.
Roger said we stayed at the Fair Oaks Farms in that region. And, during the blizzard, I did, and it was the Disney World of Agriculture and Farming. I wish I'd known that. So
The Disney World of Agriculture and Farming.
yes,
Like, do they have rides or like?
they must,
I
like
need,
I don't know, milk
I need
wagons
more.
or
Like, I need, I need to know more. When you say it's
the
the Disney World of Agriculture and Farming, what are we
yes,
getting at here?
that's right, the Epcot of farming. So
Yeah, you ride around in a whole line of tractors singing, it's a small farm after all, or something.
right, it's a small farm after all. Yeah, that fits. It's fitting. So,
Oh man,
so you gonna call in, Roger? Or are you just gonna talk in the chat room?
I'm thinking he's just
We
going to
all
talk.
know what you look like. Thanks to Carly. Your cover has been blown a long time ago. So, but you can see we're struggling for content this morning just because there's nowhere else to go. I mean, I could launch into all kinds of things. I could launch into politics and we could go, I don't want to do politics this morning. We could.
Today's not the day for it.
No. When we could launch into, we started talking history and Tony Robinson and their exploration in England and for old England. So
If I'd thought it out better, I could have planned something better for driving along 66 and been able to talk some of this stuff for you
Roger
guys.
says he's only in the chat. Weed eating, chatting in between walks, headphone mode. But what's the other? What was I thinking of with? Tony Robinson. I'd like to do a show on this sometime, just for the fun of it. But he did a show on finding the real Robin Hood and digging into the history of Robin Hood, and he's very thorough. He's got a lot of good information he dispenses in a very short period of time in a very fun, interesting way. And he talked about all the candidates for Robin Hood that it could have been, when he would have lived, going to things like it's been found that like we talk about Sherwood Forest as being associated with Robin Hood.
Right.
But yet the original stories of Robin Hood didn't take place in Sherwood. They were in they were along the Great North Road, which was like the major highway between London and the north of England. And so the Great North Road, and in the forests up near Pontefract and Leeds, which is up way north of Sherwood. And so he brought you up there, but they found that there were road names like Robin Hood Way or Robin Hood Lane, things like that, that some of those date back 1,500 years or 1,300 years to the origin of that road. And they find this out through records and stuff like that. And so it places Robin Hood a little further back than we might think, like early 1100s, like that, as opposed to like you always see him in the 1200s, 1300s. So it was interesting that those names existed. And so if the name existed, Robin Hood Way, the big question was it named for the famous outlaw, or was the outlaw took his name from the road? Those are the questions you have to ask. And and they found variations of the name Robert Hode, H-O-D, Robert Hode, H-O-D-E, in old handwritten records, of course, that date back to that era. And so they're trying to find out, who was this guy? And was he gentry? Was he aristocrat whose lands were forfeit? Was he a yeoman? They've got him down to a yeoman in the king's service. They've got him down to, and there were these three candidates that were very strong candidates, and he even narrowed it down from there to who he thinks the guy actually was. And you can go to, there's an old building still standing from that era. It looks like a gray house, but it looks like a cabin and a house kind of combined because it's old. It's that old medieval structure and with a peaked roof on it. And it's at Kirklees Abbey, which is where, according to the legend, Robin Hood died at Kirklees Abbey. That it was the old, what would you call it? The mother superior of the abbey poisoned him. But it was somebody he knew. You saw this played up in Robin and Marion, where Sean Connery played the aging Robin Hood. This movie was done in the early 70s, 73 or 74. And Robin and Marion came out, and it was Audrey Hepburn played Marion. And Sean Connery played about 50, 55-year-old Robin Hood back from the Crusades and serving the king long after all the episodes of the Robin Hood story as we know it. And he had Little John with him, played by British actor Nigel something, and I can't remember his name. He was in Excalibur. He played Merlin in Excalibur, if you remember that movie. That's all I can think of for movie credits for him. And I can't think of his name. But, and they show, according to the legend, the abbess of Kirklees Abbey, she poisons him. And they've got her as Marion in the movie. And there's a reason for love that she does this and then poisons herself, according to that version of the tale. And Robin gives instructions for John to bury him wherever his arrow lands. And he takes a shot as John help him string his bow up, and he takes one shot out the window, and he says, where this bow lands, that's where you should bury me. Of course, it's a very romanticized. And now, of course, they've looked at the building that is left of Kirklees Abbey. He shot an arrow out of this bedroom. This is the room he was supposed to have died in. And there's the window. And if he shot an arrow out, where would that arrow have landed? How many yards could it have gone, before it landed? And they've looked, and of course, there's nothing. And they said, so this is probably, and there's some candidates for graves, but they think
I think there was a couple of, there was a show recently where they actually took GPR out to
yes,
to a couple of possible potential grave sites,
yes,
things like that. Working off of if you're going with an English longbow, and the average weight and size of the arrow and blah blah blah. Blah.
Right.
And
there was an old grave marked at Kirklees Abbey, and it had a little wrought iron fence around it.
Yep.
Grave of I think that's where it was listed, Robin of Locksley or Robert of Locksley or something like that. And they said, but they don't think that's it at all. That's done for tourism back 1,000 years ago. But
right.
So interesting stuff. And what's that?
I said, indeed.
Indeed. And I had read a book by James C. Holt years ago, 20, 30 years ago. I got this. He was the chair of history at Nottingham University. And he wrote this book on Robin Hood. And I think it was just entitled Robin Hood, if I remember right. It wasn't like The Quest for Robin Hood or anything. He was a scholar. And I was very close once to having him on Intrepid Radio 10 years ago.
Okay.
Or more. And then he died. He up and died. So I was very intrigued by his book. That's what actually got me looking at that in the first place. So Tony Robinson does a great one. Tony Robinson and Robin Hood. And you'll see some of these historical shows he's done. So, yeah, he very well earned his knighthood conferred by Queen Elizabeth. So,
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Especially to go from a
Comedy
show like
entertainer.
Blackadder.
Yep. Master, I have a cunning plan. So,
but then being knighted.
yes.
That's like, what? How did we get there from here?
Yes. So, and we have 3 days to find out.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
That
once
still
again, I
boggles
highly
my
recommend
mind.
his shows.
That's
So
still
folks, we're
amazing.
down to 2 minutes before the end of this program, and only 2 people in the chat room. I don't know if that's you and me, Jason, or somebody else. So the chat room has dropped down to almost 0. That doesn't mean you're not listening out there. We got tons of people that listen outside the chat room. But for those of you who are left, I think we're going to start wrapping up because it's just about 11 o'clock here. Should be noon out east and 9 a.m. out west. And so, Jason, thank you for taking your drive time, your quiet solitude, and spending it with us.
Well, thanks for coming along on the ride. It's,
absolutely. How long till
thanks
you're
for
back to
having
where
us.
you need to be?
Hour and 25 minutes if I keep following
There you go.
66. So,
And that's all right.
yep.
So,
Exactly.
well, you have a good rest of your day. And I'm
Same.
going to let you go. I will see you maybe tomorrow night for
All
Intrepid
right,
Radio.
sounds good.
Jason, see you. Drive safe. Everybody else, thank you for being here. Morgan Snow is still here. Randall Flagg is still here. Good to see you all. I figured it's Sunday morning, and we've trailed off a bit toward the end of the show. So thank you for being here for our really Sunday mornings. It's Sunday, very informal, as most of you who are regular listeners know. Not usually a great chosen topic to enter the show with. We kind of come in cold and let you decide what we're going to talk about. So thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for spending your time here. Tomorrow, back to the formal show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Left Coast time, Intrepid Radio, right here on my YouTube channel. And we should be back also again with Robertson on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central. So Wendy Robertson and I. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you spending your time. It's been fun. It's always fun for me. It's what I do. It's my fun. I enjoy it. I don't go drinking. I don't go hunting. I don't go hanging with the boys. I don't go fishing. Stuff like that. I do radio. So this is what I do with my spare time. So thank you for being here, and we'll see you next Sunday, and if not, tomorrow night on Intrepid Radio. So all of you, live long and prosper, and have a good day.